What's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Jen, and in today's video I'm taking this nightstand and I'm gonna completely refinish it using chalk paint and a whole bunch of elbow grease. And I'm really excited to use this paint again because I used it on a nightstand in last week's video and it turned out amazing. So I'm gonna actually custom make some paint for this particular one. Don't forget, if you like furniture flips and makeovers like this one, you can subscribe right down below, and you can also like the video. However, my first order of business here is to get this piece cleaned, flip it over, try to fix a little bit of this wobbling, and then we're gonna get into sanding, painting, etc. So stick around if you want to see a really cool furniture flip, and yeah, let's just get into it.
Actually, my first step was to clear the piece.
Well, that was easy.
Then I could get cleaning. I'm using a degreasing soap, lint-free rags, and some clean water. This piece doesn't take a ton of abuse, but I'm scrubbing pretty aggressively to make sure any grease or grime is removed. And you can see the wobble I talked about in the intro. Hang tight, I'm fixing that too. Then I used a clean wet rag to wipe off any residue. I did this a few times to make sure there were no traces of soap.
Then we let her dry.
So Matt and I have been watching a lot of Glenda Chavez doing some DIY flipping of furniture, and one of the things that we both love is that she shows her water. So thank you, Glenda, for the inspo, because let's look at how gross this is. Ew. With the piece drying clean, I grabbed various sandpaper grits and a sanding block. I wrap the paper around the block so the sheet doesn't slide around too much, and I just go for it. I'm only scuff sanding this piece because I know the finish, because I did it. I'm adding a tooth to the top coat, but I'll try to avoid breaking through to the chalk paint if I can. I spent some time on this issue on top. This table used to be part of a stacking set of matching pieces, I think from the 70s, and it would look like this, but round. So the spindles screw into the top and base. I never quite got this area flush before, so I want to fix that issue today too. I wiped down all the dust.
Alright, this here, so it's really this leg that's the worst. Okay. Ew. Just a screw? Ugh. Well, I don't know how I'm gonna do this then, because it does unscrew from the top, but I'm gonna leave it screwed in as tight as I can at the bottom. Okay. Let's try to just use some Tite Bond maybe. I don't know, if I just use some Tite Bond like on the top here, maybe underneath too. Tite Bond 3. Let's see, maybe if I just do a little Tite Bond in here too. And then, okay. I'm going to try this.
Hopefully it does the job. That's as hand tight as I can get it. It's maybe slightly less wobbly. The rest of these don't come out though. Squeeze out. Okay. Squeeze on the bottom. There we go. All right, I'm gonna leave this for about an hour and just let it completely dry, and I'm gonna go work on another piece in the meantime. Once I tightened up the legs and spindles, a crack formed in the top at the area where I had the initial issue. So I grabbed some Ace brand wood filler and a Japan scraper, and I applied a thin, slightly raised blob, then left that to dry. It didn't dry quite as fast as I needed, so I sped that along using the fan from my misting bottle. What this thing is really for? Okay, we're done. I grabbed what I had left of my 150 grit sheet and smoothed out the wood fill. I wiped it down and that slightly rehydrated the filler, so I just left that until it dried again. So I grabbed my folk art chalk style paints to get custom mixing. I'm using Turkish tile, Maui sand, and my new favorite, Castle, to mix for a nice deep dusty blue color. I started by adding a sample of the blue and charcoal colors to the underside of the top. That way I'd have a reference point for the undertones in the paint as I started mixing. And I'm mixing directly into my leftover slightly watered down container of Castle from my last furniture refinish. Just a quick note here, I didn't use specific measurements. The only thing I'll warn you about is you can always deepen or darken a shade, but it's a lot tougher to lighten while keeping the integrity of the original color. I started small with the dark shade, mixed, and tested. It was too gray, so I added more blue. Mixed, and tested again. Ooh, that's better. Oh, that's the color. That is literally the color I wanted. And I'm going to use, to paint this, I'm going to use my 2-inch square purdy. Since the nightstand was already flipped over, I painted a solid coat on the legs and underside. Then I flipped it back over, wet my brush and the piece, and started painting. It smoothed out pretty well considering how dry we are here. I also worked fairly quickly, and I made sure not to go over already drying areas. spindles were challenging, and I'll have to pick up a different brush if I do other furniture refinishing on pieces with lots of curves like this one. I made it work and just went slow to feather out and avoid drips, but you'll see when I do top coat, this brush isn't ideal. I came back about 90 minutes later to do the second coat. I suggest reading the label of your specific paint and adjusting as needed. I live in what feels like the driest place on earth. Folk Art suggests 2 hours, but I've tested and I know I can get away with less time here, which is good because by the time I finished this second coat, I was in need of a nice, long air conditioning break. In fact, I left this to dry overnight. So I cracked into this gallon of Modern Masters Dead Flat Varnish top coat and gave her a thorough stir. Yeah, pro tip, don't ever shake top coat, especially if you're using a dead flat. It skins over and starts curing very quickly, and shaking can introduce bubbles that don't pop. That could ruin lots of hard work on a finish. Always stir top coat. This dead flat is the flattest sheen finish I've ever used, and I've been a fan of Modern Masters for years. It goes on slightly white but dries clear and won't ever yellow. Plus, you can use it over any water-based product, so I've used this over faux on walls and all the furniture that I've refinished in my house. I left this to dry overnight, and with that, this chalk paint furniture makeover was done. Obviously, the teal paint on our wall has got to go, but I'm fully in love with how this nightstand turned out. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and please consider subscribing. And do all the things you need to get notifications of all my uploads. That's all I've got for you this week. Thanks so much for watching. Later, peeps.
Game off. Game on. Yeah, I mean, I can probably cobble something together from that, right? No bird. Please move along. Do not come in my garage.